Five, four, three, two, one, and glow. Y'all know what time it is. It is time for that glow up. The glow flow is live at 5. You already know, so I don't have to tell you. All right, so today we have an incredible guest, a special guest. We're going to let this build a little bit. We're going to let our people get in here. I'm sure y'all see my cat in the back. Lightning is always making an appearance. You know, she loves the spotlight too, y'all. So we're gonna let this build and let you guys get on in here, and then we're gonna bring them to the stage, y'all. And y'all know definitely hello, Miss Cinnamon C. I know you noticed you got that rich, right? It's Cinnamon C. You are the first here. Now usually I don't do this for my moderators, but since this is your first day being a moderator, then absolutely you will see that glow up for your account. Make sure you send me over your Zelle account information. No bank account information, y'all. I don't want that. I want either your email that's attached to your Zelle account or your phone number that's attached to it, so I can make sure we glow up that account on Friday. Okay, y'all know how it is. It goes down on Friday, on F-Bomb Friday. That's when we blow up the funds. Okay, so thank you again, and yes, thank you for dropping that glower, because y'all know when I'm on here, I have a hard time finding my glower. But guess what? I'm in the room as well today. I have to do it because we're putting up some lights today. We're lighting some lights of my FAMU family, absolutely, and we're bringing a very special plug to the stage, y'all, because y'all know real estate has been a real hot topic. Oh, it's a lot of static on my end. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know, but thank you so much for letting me know if I try to move closer, and I'm gonna cut off this other mic, and when the guest comes in, I will mute myself. So sometimes that helps, but I'm gonna cut off my background speaker, and I'm gonna move closely. But thank you so much for making it back into another show. Miss Jackie is here today. Miss Jackie, I'm still ready for that glow up. We got to do it. Yes, Cocoa Butter Barbie. Neophyte told me it is a little scratchy. I'm in a new townhome, y'all. So yes, it's not that strong. But don't worry, when our guest comes on, I'm going to mute my mic, and so that way he will have his. And prayerfully his will be a lot better. We are glow getters, glow for the better up in here. Make sure you throw up your glowers, y'all. We're in here. Sorry about that, y'all, for everybody that's experiencing me a little scratchy. And I don't have a scratchy voice today. Feeling really great. Moved into our new townhome. I'm so excited. Y'all, make sure you check out later too. We're going to be doing a special mukbang. A special mukbang, me and the babies. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to be bringing to the platform today, because like I said, I don't want to lose y'all with my scratchiness. But we're going to be bringing up to the platform today. You guys know real estate has become a real hot topic. A real hot topic, I think, because the older that we get, the more we realize how important it is to be able to have that type of security, to not have to wonder, paying a mortgage, paying a rent, going from month to month, year to year, right? So with that being said, very interestingly enough, a friend of ours, and I say ours, Monica and I just got through running some campaigns for this last election cycle here in Georgia. And what happened was we worked with a particular worker, canvasser, and today, the day after the election, thank you, Cocoa Butter Barbie. The day after the election, y'all, we were reached out to. Our services were reached out to by Time and HBO. And you all remember when Monica was on the show, she talked about it. Hey, Diamond. Okay, we got our moderators in here, y'all. We blowing up today. We're doing it today. Y'all come. Y'all see, I'm bringing a nice young gentleman up here to the stage, and everybody's excited. Okay, everybody's excited about weighing in. I appreciate that. We have another one next week as well, y'all. So the men are lighting their light. I got to get my ladies back in here. But what happened was today we had that follow up with HBO, and believe it or not, it was really something. But during this meeting with HBO, one of those canvassers from the campaign was evicted. So y'all, it just goes to show that we have to very much Hello, Mr. J.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm sorry, I'm on a little delay. Like I said, this is a new townhome, so it's Wi-Fi, and this always happens with me and my Wi-Fi. When I'm in a new space, it takes me like a couple of days for my Wi-Fi to settle in because it's fighting with the other bandwidths. Every townhome has their own individual. So, perfect. So some people couldn't hear anything, but now they're hearing it. Perfect. Thank you so much for letting me know that too. Thank you, Cocoa Butter Barbie. And thanks for everybody for coming on back, because I know we lost connection for like a second, and we were pausing. But I'm really excited about this topic. It's one that is, very much close to heart. As you might remember from our conversation briefly that we had a couple of weeks ago, because thank you so much for your patience with election week was crazy. And so I totally forgot that, when we were supposed to do F-Bomb Friday last Friday. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much. And then, yes, Cocoa Butter Barbie, here I am and here you are. But it's something that's near and dear to my heart because I served on the council in Miami, Florida, in Coconut Grove. And as a councilwoman, housing was, of course, very much a hot topic. A lot of us, and when I say us, I mean the Generation Xers and millennials, we want quality information about housing. We really don't know how to go about getting it. We really, besides it being left or bequeathed to us, we really don't know the steps to obtaining it. A lot of people talk about Habitat for Humanity and that sort of thing, but they don't realize the work that actually has to go into that. It's hard to hold down a job as well as put in the sweat equity that has to go into being a part of a program like that. So I love that, we met a couple of months back, and we've been working on having this particular opportunity for a minute. But I wanted to bring someone that does know, more about this side of it than I do. Again, I know about the side of being a consumer. I know about the side of policy, but about the side of it as a business and why the cost of homes are increasing at such a rate that is hard for when I say I mean our, African-American, Black American, whatever way you want to call it, melanated individuals. Why is it so hard for us to keep up? Why is house ownership or ownership of homes the lowest it has been since 1956 for Black people? These are just some things that I have questions about that I would definitely love and appreciate your input on. So without further ado, I'm going to put myself on mute so it stops scratching. And thank you so much, Diamond. And I'm going to let you go in and and I'm putting myself on mute coming on out. And so that way you have a clear stage. Okay. Thank you so much again for being a part.
Absolutely. So I guess just a little bit background history about myself. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I had came from a family that did not have a ton of things, but my parents were deep into education, so that was always a staple. My father was a principal, and my mother worked as a community college professor, and then moved on to working as a staff executive. So education was always really important in our household, and I knew that growing up that I wanted to grow. And one of the things that I tried to figure out was how can I actually do that? Because I'm watching television, and one of the things that I was watching was BET, and my first, what I would consider mentor, came through the television, and that actually was Diddy. And it wasn't because of his music. It was because there was a profile being done on him about his business acumen. And it had everything to do with his ventures in the music business as well as real estate. And this brand new fresh word came across my mind as mogul. So I really wanted to understand what that meant. And essentially, a mogul is just a person who has their hand in a few different pots in terms of business. So whether it's owning your own business, real estate, the stock market, like those are different types of things that that people are looking at. So in order to develop wealth, so like those are the four. Well, those are three of the four ways to actually gain and obtain wealth. One, like I said before, is owning your own business. The second one is the stock market. The third one is real estate. And then the fourth one is inheritance. But I didn't have that, so I had to focus on the other ones. So I always kept that in my mind. I knew growing up that I wanted to be in business in some way. Like, a lot of kids wanted to go to the NBA. I definitely wanted to go to the NBA. But once I got to high school, I was like, well, 5'10", I don't necessarily know. So I decided to start focusing on books. I was just like, you know what? Let me try to figure out how to get to money, because I wanted to go to the NBA because of money, right? So I started studying, and that increased, and I went to college, went to school in Florida. I went to Florida A&M University, aka FAMU, and I still didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to be in business somehow. So I'm giving you all of this background information just to kind of give you the thought process on what you need to think about and what you need to look at before you even start thinking about purchasing a home. So all of it stems from education. And I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do when I was at FAM. And I took an opportunity to reach out to a professor. And I said, hey, these are the types of things that I'm interested in. And they suggested a course for me to take. And it was a commercial real estate course. And this was actually my senior year. So my senior year, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take this course and see what it's about. And when I took the course, all types of bells and whistles went off for me. It was just me understanding real estate because it was a real tangible asset. It was something that I could see and touch and feel. And we were looking at the numbers, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that I could buy something, 1 year and 5 years later, it may appreciate, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 off of me just living there. And my thought process was, hey, well, I have to live somewhere anyway. So why not start thinking about how I can buy my own property where I can live myself? So I went from that to working in commercial banking and commercial real estate. And the reason why I went into commercial banking and commercial real estate was because I wanted to understand the numbers, and I wanted to understand the process, and I wanted to understand what other people knew that I didn't know. So I started working there, and I just conducted research, and I came across a few different programs that offered free money. There are grants that are available for us. There are interest-free loans that are available for us. Some of these things depend on which state you live in, which city you live in, even where you're employed. Sometimes your job may be able to offer some type of grant toward you purchasing a home, because oftentimes corporations want to keep you living in the same area that you're working in because it's easier for you to commute. And the closer you live to work, the longer you usually stay. So sometimes they offer, down payment assistance programs or closing cost assistance programs. And I'll explain a little bit about those things later. But, I ended up buying my first property, and I still, like, on paper, I knew some of the things, but there are things that you're not going to know unless you come across someone that's in the business that's willing to guide you and talk you through that situation. So looking back on my first deal, in terms of buying something, there were things that I wish I would have known. One of the things is how to choose and select a home inspector and what type of tools they should have, because that's really important to understand, what you're walking into. You're paying, any more than you probably ever paid in your life for a home. So you want to make sure that, everything is straight in the house. So in doing that, I went through that process, and, and then I ended up being recruited into residential real estate. So, before that, when I went through my process, I probably went through maybe like 3 or 4 realtors before I settled on one, because I just wasn't satisfied with the process that they were taking me through. And after I purchased my first home, I said, you know what? I'm already doing things like this in commercial banking and commercial real estate, just on a different scale. So I'm very sure that I can do it myself. And just going through this process and looking at the service that I received and understanding the information that I needed to know, really prompted me to go full steam into real estate and become a realtor. So I got into the business, started my own company, and we've been operating very successfully. Was just named one of the top 50 realtors out of 40,000 in the state of Maryland. I'm licensed in Maryland, DC, and Virginia, but I conduct business all over the country. I'm connected to top realtors in every single city. So I help people any and everywhere. So this is actually a part of what I do, is just trying to give back and help people to understand what needs to happen. So step one in any real estate transaction, the first thing that you need to do is one of the most intimidating things for people, which is to contact a bank or contact a mortgage company to go through what's called a pre-approval process. And a pre-approval process is essentially you reaching out to, like I said before, a mortgage banker or a mortgage company and asking them to take a look at your finances, whether it be your credit. They're going to look at everything. They're going to look at your credit. They're going to look at your tax returns. They're going to look at, your W-2s or 1099s if you're working for yourself. They're going to look at everything, your entire financial picture, and they'll be able to tell you where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. So oftentimes what ends up happening is people are afraid to even go through that process because they don't think that they're going to qualify. So they count themselves out before they can even get into the game. But one of the things that I also would like to let people know is that, there are a ton of myths about purchasing real estate. And some of the things that come up are, one, credit. So there are literally thousands of credit repair companies that can help you improve your credit score. And oftentimes people ask me, well, what credit score do I need to be able to purchase something? Well, before this pandemic, you probably needed about a 620 credit score. But right now, you probably need like around a 640 credit score to be able to get into the game in terms of purchasing something. And, there are plenty of people that I come across that, are in 500s, and they feel like they can't do anything. Well, you may not be able to move forward right then and there, but if you start paying attention to your spending, working with a financial planner, reaching out to like a credit repair company, they can walk you through and assist you with improving your credit. So something that may take you years could potentially take you a few months. So that's really important. So we talked about one, just reaching out to a bank that deals with mortgages and going through a pre-approval process. All you have to do is let them know that you're interested in purchasing a home and you like to go through their pre-approval process. And they'll tell you about all the documents that they'll need. And they should be able to get an answer to you within the same week. So you have that part. The second part is, if you get a response, whether if they say, hey, I'm glad that you reached out, but, there's some weaknesses in your credit, they're obligated to send you a credit report. So you'll be able to take a look at your credit report. Even before that, you can take a look at your credit report on websites that offer free credit reports. So you are entitled to one free credit report annually. So you can go to, they're not paying me, so I'm not going to say any names, but you can Google free credit reports. And when you do that, all you have to do is insert your information, your social security number, your name, address, all that kind of stuff. And they should be able to provide you with a free credit report instantly. So you'll have an understanding of where you are in terms of an estimate. Now, what the bank is going to pull is probably going to be a little bit more accurate, but you'll at least know what range you're in. So you get through that part, and let's say, you end up getting that 640 credit score. Your next step is to find a realtor. And every realtor isn't the same. So you have some people who have a background in something else. They jumped into real estate because, it sounded cool, or, they heard about the money, or whatever it may be. You have some people who are part-time in real estate. Well, that's okay, but you don't necessarily want to have someone that's part-time representing you against a full-time agent, because you as a buyer are going to have your own agent. It's just like going to court. If you're going to court and you're defending yourself, you have your own attorney, and you want to make sure your attorney has your best interest. They have time for you. They know what they're doing, because all this stuff is going to come down to contracts and negotiating. So I would much rather have someone that's full-time working in the industry, because they're going to know about the policies. They're going to know the tricks to the trade, and they're going to be working on a lot more transactions than someone that is just part-time in the industry. So that's something that you want to be aware of. The other thing is you want to ask them how many transactions they've worked on in the year, and also ask them for proof of that. So there are reports that an agent can pull, or their brokerage can pull on their behalf to show you how many transactions they've worked on in that year. So you want to have someone at least, even if it's a beginner, you want to have someone with at least 12 transactions. So someone that's able to do one transaction per month. If they're not doing one transaction per month, then I would just consider them part-time. And the reason being is because if you're not looking at the contracts actively, if you're not negotiating actively, then you're behind the curve. And you want to have someone that's doing this stuff all the time so they know it like the back of their hand. So all of that is really important, because the realtor should know the areas that you want to be in. They should be able to provide you with the details about the home that you're going to be visiting. They also should be able to navigate and explain an offer to you. So anytime you decide that you want to purchase a home, the realtor should be drafting an offer contract. And in that offer, there should be different contingencies in that offer. So there are three basic contingencies that I place in every offer, and all a contingency is just it's a stipulation that should be able to protect you as a buyer. So one is a financing contingency. The second one is an appraisal contingency. And then the third one is a home inspection contingency. So with a home inspection contingency, that just means that you're allotted a certain number of days to have a professional come out to the property and inspect it. So you want to have, so a typical home inspection contingency would be like within 10 days, you are afforded an opportunity to have a professional come out to visit the home and walk through top to bottom and provide you with a report of any damages that they find or anything that isn't working or that needs to be replaced. And they should, like I said, they should provide that report within 24 hours. Now, when they provide that report to you, it's your obligation to determine if, one, you want to negotiate. So that negotiation could be someone or you telling the seller or the agent telling the seller's agent that you want certain things repaired. The other negotiation could be that the seller, your agent, is telling the other agent that you want a deduction in your price so that you can make the repairs on your own. After you get that reduction in price, it's up to you for whoever it is that you want to use to make that repair. You could actually make the repairs yourself and save yourself some money. Or if you have family members that are contractors, you can use them. But that also goes into the skill of negotiating from the agent side. So you have those things as options. And then the last option is that, if you find some things like terrible termite damage. If you find termite damage, you probably want to just turn the other way and look for another deal. And that home inspection contingency will allow you to be able to back out of that contract based on what you find in the home inspection. And you can say, hey, you know what? This isn't something that I want to move forward with. I'm going to look for something else. So we talked about the home inspection contingency. The other contingency is a financing contingency. A financing contingency means that if the bank, for whatever reason, or the mortgage company, for whatever reason, during this transaction decides that they are unable to lend money to you after they've provided you with a pre-approval letter, and for whatever reason, let's just say the economy tanks or something happens with that specific bank or mortgage company that freezes the assets or the cash that they have to be able to lend, then you're able to walk away from that deal. The other thing is the appraisal contingency. Now, the appraisal contingency in some way is tied to a financing contingency. The appraisal contingency just means that the bank is going to, or the bank or the mortgage company is going to have a professional appraiser come out to a property, whichever property you choose, and they're going to value that property. So they're going to inspect it. They're going to look at other homes in the area and look at what they sold for and determine an accurate value for that property. Now, this is how the appraisal contingency protects you from ever overpaying for a home. So let's just say, I'm just going to use simple numbers. If you find a home that is, and you negotiate to pay for a home $100,000, and an appraiser comes out and says, you know what, this home is only worth $90,000. Well, you take that report and you send your agent takes that report and sends it to the seller's agent to say, hey, this is the report that we've received in terms of the value. Now you have an option to negotiate accepting that dollar amount in terms of what you committed to, which was the $100,000, but the bank is only going to give you a certain percentage, right? So they're not gonna, let's just say they would finance everything for you, which means that they would give you all the cash that you need to buy the house. Well, if the bank is told by the appraiser that the house is only worth $90,000, the bank is only going to give you $90,000. It's up to you to come up with the additional $10,000 to make it to that $100,000 mark. That's one option. The second option is for you to negotiate, or I should say your agent to negotiate with the other agent to say, hey, we have the appraisal. The value of the property is $90,000. So we would like to cut the price to $90,000. The agents will go back and forth, working with you, representing you, and representing the seller to determine what they're willing to accept and what you're willing to accept. So if the appraisal comes back and you do not have if the appraisal comes back lower than the price that you agreed to pay, you have the option to either make up the difference yourself, negotiate that price down to that $90,000, or you can walk away. So those three contingencies help protect you in the situation. So if the home is damaged and you didn't know that when you were walking through, and you have a professional come out and they find it, well, you can walk away. If you are working with a financial institution that's going to give you a loan, and for whatever reason, they are unable to give you the funds, well, that financial contingency allows you to be able to walk away. And then you also have the appraisal. If a professional appraiser comes out and says that the seller has overcharged you for the home, then you can negotiate down or you can walk away. So those are three things that should be in every single contract, that in any type of offer that you have. So because those things protect you. So you go through that process. After that process, what ends up happening is you start settling on dates. So you have a date for your settlement. And all that settlement really means is that you sign a bunch of paperwork. You're signing that you understand how much you need to pay. You're signing all of the loan documents. And the fun part, you get your keys that day. So it depends on the state, but on your settlement day is generally when you take possession of the home. So all that means is that should be the day that you officially own your home and you get your keys to be able to move in. So I wanted to take you through, my background. I also wanted to take you through just the process of considering moving forward with purchasing real estate. And then also wanted to take you through the actual process of purchasing real estate. Now, some of the things that we come across or as realtors is that people feel like they can't buy homes. And that's not necessarily true. A lot of times it's the person has already, let's say a potential buyer has already decided without speaking to any professional that they can't buy a home. There are tons of myths out there. One of the myths that I hear is that, you need 20% in order to be able to purchase a home. That's not true at all. There are many lending programs that will either allow you to have 0% down, which is like if you're a veteran, you have VA loans, or if you're in the military, actively in the military, you're able to utilize that. You don't have to place any money down as far as the down payment. The financial institution will give you 100% of the money. So anyone in the military, you should be thinking about that. The other thing is FHA. It's just another financial lending tool. It's called an FHA loan, where you only have to place 3.5% down versus the 20% that most people think about. The only reason that you would place 20% down is if you just have the cash to do it, and you want to avoid what's called mortgage insurance. And mortgage insurance is essentially you paying the mortgage company's insurance on your behalf. So mortgage insurance is really to protect the bank if a buyer defaults. So instead of the bank paying the insurance, the bank forces the buyer to pay the insurance just in case they default. So you have those things. But if you want to get into a home, the first step is to go through a pre-approval process. But you don't have to have 20% down. Like I said before, you can have 3.5% down, and some people may not have to have any money as far as the down payment goes. So you have tons of options out here. There are definitely other programs out here. One I'll mention, and I hope that you heard of it. It's called NACA, the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America, and it's NACA. And I believe the website is naca.com. It's one of the better programs that exists, where you get a very low interest rate. It's usually below the national average. You don't have any down payment, and you also don't have any closing costs. And your credit does not have to be superb. You don't have to have good credit to go through this program. Now, what I will say to you is that you will need patience to be able to get through this program. Simply because it's a nonprofit organization that operates nationally, and they don't have as many employees as they do clients. So what's supposed to take you about 3 months to get through could take you anywhere between 6 to 12 months to be able to get through, just because the appointments that they set for you are going to be somewhat far apart. So you may have an appointment that's 2 months to 3 months apart, and you may need 3 or 4 appointments. So you just have to be patient with that. They're going to ask you for documentation. Make sure that you have any and everything that they ask you for. If you don't have it, it's just going to set you back, because you're going to have to get another appointment to be able to bring that stuff in. It's a really good program that gets tons of people into homes, but you have to be patient to be able to go through that process. But once you get through that process, you can walk away or walk into a home that you pay very little for. The first property that I purchased, I used the NACA program, and it wasn't, anybody can use it. So, whether you have good credit or bad credit, you can use it. And I think I paid maybe around $3,000 total to be able to buy my first property. And that's something that I encourage a lot of people to go through, especially first-time home buyers. And I believe it's specifically for first-time home buyers. They also have a program for people who have purchased, and let's just say COVID-19 hits and there's a pandemic. Well, that organization will also work with the financial institution that provided the loan to assist you with buying some additional time to be able to pay. They could also help you with deferring payments. So instead of you paying, upfront, every month, they may be able to help you negotiate with the financial institution to give you a 3-month break or 6-month break, or even place your payments at the end of your mortgage so that you can actually have some breathing room. But organizations like that, I love them because they really represent the people, and they're really trying to get people into homes. So one of the things I would say is just, get out of your own way. Don't give in to any myths that you've heard about buying a home. Actually go through the process. One of the things that I try to do with my company, the name of my company is the Hobbs Homes Real Estate Group, is THHREG.com. And one of the things that I've done with them with my company is bring lenders, bring title companies in, bring attorneys in, and we do conduct different seminars. We work with people, and the reason being is because we want you guys to understand that we are regular people the same way that you are. And I do understand that, you know, some people can be intimidated by hearing the word bank, lawyer, real estate, all that kind of stuff. But those are just titles. The people that are actually doing the jobs are people just like you, you know, you and me. So don't hesitate to ask questions. There is no stupid question. There is no silly question. If you do need additional assistance and guidance, practically in every city, there should be a real estate group that offers some type of seminar, whether it be you know, selling your home for the first time or buying your home for the first time. They'll walk you through the things that you need to expect. And if you want to just reach out one-on-one, once again, it's thhreg.com. More than happy to talk to anybody about the real estate process and guiding you through that. So all the advice that we offer is free. There's no obligation. Any type of questions that you may have, you know, definitely go to the website, email them to us, or, you know, just pick up the phone and call. Actually, I believe my cell phone is on there, so you can text me as well. So anything that you guys need to know about real estate, we're more than happy to answer. As far as like the difficulties in purchasing, I think I covered some of those things. One is you got to know where you stand first. And all of that comes through the pre-approval, because the bank is the one that's going to give you the money, right? So if you need the money to be able to move forward, then you need to take a look at, you need to get an understanding of where you are financially. So I don't care if your credit score is a 400, you need to know what it is, and you need to know how to improve it. Like I said, right now, credit scores, the credit score that you would need in order to purchase is at minimum about a 640. You don't have to have tons of cash to be able to purchase. And there are organizations and groups in every city that are dedicated, or at least every state that are dedicated to helping first-time home buyers, educating first-time home buyers, walking you guys through the process, and getting around some of the myths that exist. You know, one of the things that I hear people say is that like they are afraid of buying a home because they don't want to deal with the extra maintenance. Well, you don't necessarily have to buy a standalone house. You can buy a condo, and a condo operates very similarly to an apartment complex. So the condo association is going to have someone on call that will come into your condo and fix things for you. They also maintain, you know, the what we call the public spaces. So like the lobby areas, all that stuff gets cleaned, same way that an apartment would. If you had issues like with, you know, pipes and all that kind of stuff, anything on the interior, your condo association, depending on their condo documents, may have someone that can come in and repair things for you. If they don't have that, one of the things that a realtor should do for you is negotiate a home warranty. And all that means is that there's a somewhat of like an insurance policy. So if anything goes wrong, let's just say your oven breaks down. Instead of you having to go out and buy a $600 oven, you may only have to pay $60 for someone to come in and either repair or replace the entire thing. So that's something that a realtor should be able to negotiate for you, which is, again, a home warranty. So you have those things like that takes care of a lot, especially in a condo. You can do the same thing for a standalone home. a detached home. You can have a home warranty. If you have a realtor that can negotiate a 1-year home warranty for you, just in case anything breaks within the home, then you're in good shape. But a really good realtor should be able to negotiate maybe 2 or 3 years of a home warranty policy for you, where the seller actually pays for that on your behalf. So you're not coming out of any money out of your pocket for it. So they're actually giving you additional insurance on the home that they're selling you. So that's something that you should talk to a realtor about anytime that you're making an offer. So remember those 3 contingencies: the appraisal contingency, the financing contingency, and the home inspection contingency. You want to have that in your contract. And then you also want to have the home warranty in the contract as well, so that the seller is paying just in case anything breaks within that first year, or the second year or third year, but your realtor needs to negotiate that for you. So you have all of those different things that can work on your behalf. It's really set up for you guys to purchase. Like, everything is there for us to purchase. Now, I do understand that everybody isn't in a financial position, but that does not mean that the opportunity doesn't exist. The way the laws and policies have changed, they pretty much leveled the playing field for people to be able to purchase something and own something. And I'm a huge proponent of that. So, like I said before, if you visit thhreg.com, email us, text us, call us, whatever it is, with any questions that you have, let us know where you are, and we'll set you up with either a realtor or a lender in that area that will guide you through any of the questions that you have. So, yeah, I think that's I would say the nuts and bolts of real estate right now. There's one other thing that I would encourage people to do. If you have the time, and if you have the cash, and when I say cash, you may need $3,000, you may need $5,000, you may need $10,000. But in every county, there should be what's called a tax lien auction. So with a tax lien auction, some counties may offer it. I think in Georgia, or at least I believe in Atlanta, they have a tax lien auction on a monthly basis. And I think it's like every Tuesday. Where I am, I'm in Washington, D.C. They have tax lien auctions once a year. So it's usually in July, but since we're going through this pandemic, they've delayed things. So a tax lien auction is essentially the city or county reclaiming properties from residents that have not paid their property taxes. So any home that you buy, the city is going to charge you property tax. And if you don't pay that property tax, it will allow the city to take that property. Now, the city doesn't want to hold on to the property. So what they end up doing is they'll auction it off for the value. They'll start with the value of the taxes. So let's just say, using simple numbers again, the house could be worth $100,000. And the taxes that are owed may be $3,000. Well, when you go to that auction, you can make a bid on that house. So you may be able to bid on the house and get it for $3,000. But you also may be competing with other people. So you may have to go up to $5,000 or $10,000 or even $20,000. But the moment that you get one of those homes, then you're in a position to be able to draw what's called equity. So if, let's just say you did pay $20,000 for the house. Well, you're paying $20,000 for something that's actually worth $100,000. So if you can do that, that's a great space to be in. Now, there's a process that you have to go through, and each county is going to be different. But they should have documents that you can read through, and it's not super intimidating. It's just a lot of people don't know about it. So whoever, whatever your local government is, you can call and ask them about the tax lien auctions that they have, and if they can send you any information about it, about the process and how it works. That's one of the best things that you can do in terms of, if you have cash, to be able to get into a home. And you, at some point, you may end up, once you get your first one, then you can do another, the next year. You can do another the next year, and then you can start leasing those properties. You can renovate them and lease them, or you can buy them. A lot of people will just buy them for that $20,000. And remember, it's worth $100,000. So if you buy it for $20,000 and you sell it for $70,000 without doing anything to it, well, somebody's going to want to buy it, because remember, it's worth $100,000. You're selling it for $70,000, but you purchased it for $20,000. So the difference between what you purchased it for, which is $20,000, and what you sold it for is $70,000. You have $50,000 that you just made, all off of just going to an auction and not doing anything to the home. So you have that as an option as well. And I'm more than happy to talk about that in detail, but that's probably a longer conversation, like a one-on-one, to kind of like walk you guys through that. But there's different ways to get into real estate. Another concept is called wholesaling. So wholesaling is really just dealing in paper. So you want to get connected with a realtor if you're going to wholesale. And the reason why you want to get connected with a realtor is because they have access to the MLS system. And the MLS system is a database that shows all of the properties that are going to be coming to the market, that are actively on the market, and that have already sold on the market. So the MLS system is just a database that has all of the properties within specific areas. So you want to connect with a realtor if you don't want to pay for the system yourself, and explain to them what you would like to be able to do, which is wholesale. And the reason why you would need a realtor is because you need access to that MLS database, which has all of the properties in it. So with wholesaling, what ends up happening is you want to find a home. Let's just say you find someone that has a rental property, or had a rental property that became vacant. They're not using it. You may know a family member, you may know a friend, you may know a coworker that has mentioned that they have property that they want to sell, they want to get rid of, or whatever it may be. Well, you would approach the owner of that property and say, hey, I would like to buy your property for a certain dollar amount. Now, that certain dollar amount is based on a formula, and this is something that you guys can look up. It's called the 70% rule in wholesaling. And I'm not going to go into the details behind that. It's a simple formula, but it's probably a little bit abstract to explain right now. It's probably better if someone, if you were reading through and actually looking at the formula. I just don't have the capability to show that to you right now. But when you're doing that, you find someone that has a home that isn't pristine, that needs some work. You take a look at that formula, that 70% rule in wholesaling formula, and you use that formula to determine what you're willing to offer that person. Now, you get that house under contract, right? You don't have to have any money, but you want to have a realtor that can draft a contract for you that has those protections in there for you. So the financing contingency, the appraisal contingency, home inspection contingency. You want to have those things in the contract. So when you do that, you offer them a price based on that 70% wholesaling rule. If they accept it, now you have a certain time frame, you have a window of opportunity to go and find someone who is willing to buy that property from you. So let's just say you offered the person, let's just say the house is worth, simple numbers, $100,000. And based on that 70% rule, it factors in a discount that needs to be offered. So in fact, I'll just go with that. It factors in a discount that needs to be offered for you to make money as an investor. And then it also factors in any repairs that need to be made. All of that will be explained in the 70% rule of wholesaling when you Google it. So let's say you offer that person $25,000. They know their house needs work. They don't really plan on doing anything to it, and they could use $25,000 right now. So you say, okay, I'm willing to offer you $25,000, and you find someone that's willing to pay you $35,000 or $45,000 or even $55,000 because remember, the house is worth $100,000. So what ends up happening is you find someone that's willing to pay you, let's say $55,000, and you have it under contract with the owner, with the current owner, for $25,000. Well, you haven't gone to a bank, you haven't taken out any money. The only thing that you have right now is a contract. The contract says that you have the right to purchase this house for $25,000. But within that contract, you also want to have something that's called an assignment. And with that assignment, that allows you to turn that house over to someone else. So that's a key word in wholesaling, assignment or assignability. You have to have that in the contract. And all that means is that you are able to have that house under contract. But if any scenario happens where you want to turn that house over to someone else, you can. Now, when you turn that house over to someone else, you're going to charge them, right? So let's say you charge them $55,000. Well, if they sign that, depending on how your contract is drafted, you may not be responsible or liable for paying anything. The only thing that you do is pretty much get out of the way and let that transaction close, and you make the difference between that $55,000 and $25,000, which is $30,000. You haven't pulled out any money from a bank. You haven't used any of your cash. The only thing that you've used is your time and the resources of a real estate professional to provide you with what's called comps, or a comparative market analysis, which allows you to look at what's been sold in the area to determine the price or value of that home. So it's a $100,000 home. You were able to get it under contract for $25,000, but you have a clause in your contract that says that you can assign that home to someone else. And what you're working on is trying to make money in that margin. And that margin is the difference between what you have it under contract for and what you have assigned it to someone else for. So you have it under contract for $25,000, and then you assign it to someone else for $55,000. They're going to be willing to buy it for $55,000 if it's worth $100,000. So all you do on the settlement day is sit back, and you'll get a check for $30,000. And it's that simple. But there are a couple of things that need to happen with that. You have to have the right resources in place. You need to have a realtor, a good one, in place that knows investors, the people that are willing to come in and buy and rehab homes. And you need to be really good at just researching homeowners that are willing to sell. You also need to be disciplined about doing that on a daily basis, if not weekly, weekly basis, if not daily basis, of actively trying to find people who are interested in selling. But that's a very easy way that you can be involved in real estate, not have to use any of your own cash, not have to take out a loan, and be able to profit off of real estate. So I think that's a pretty good, what I would say, lesson for today. in terms of real estate. So you have a chance to learn a little bit more about me, what drove me into real estate, the types of things that you should start focusing on if you're considering purchasing real estate, the process, what that looks like. We discussed different programs, grants that you can Google. So you can Google, first-time home buyer grants in Georgia, in Texas, wherever you are living or wherever you want to live. Those things exist and those things are real. And then you also learn about tax lien sales as well as wholesaling. So those are investment strategies that you can use to get into real estate for very low price. In wholesaling, it's really, you don't have any cost to it. But with tax liens, I mean, you're buying a house for pennies on the dollar. But it's just a matter of you taking the initiative to actually go out and get the information so that you can understand the process, because people are doing this all across the nation. They've been doing it for years. And a lot of people that look like me didn't know about it. The only reason why I know about it is because I was able to be a part of this field, and certain things start to come to light. And once I learn about it, I share it. And I think that that's the way that we, as just a people in general, are going to be able to get ahead. I'm not in the top 1%. I'm not a billionaire, but I'm definitely trying to get there, and I want other people to try to get there as well. So, these are first steps towards generational wealth. And if you can take the first step, then your children should be able to take the next step, and your grandchildren should be able to take the next step. And then that's how you build that generational wealth. So, like I said before, any questions that you guys may have, email me, text me, call me. All you have to do is go to our website, thhreg.com.
I do have a couple of questions. If you have a couple of minutes, because I know that you said that you wanted to allot a certain amount of time for this, but there were some that came from the chat. Okay. And there are some that I have. Are you okay for a couple of more minutes, or?
Yeah, let's go.
I do have a couple of questions. If you have a couple of minutes, because I know that you said that you wanted to allot a certain amount of time for this, but there were some that came from the chat. Okay. And there are some that I have. Are you okay for a couple of more minutes, or?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, perfect. So, if you have a couple of minutes, I know that you said that you wanted to allot a certain amount of time for this. Oh, but there are some that let me do this. Let me mute that. One moment. Are you okay for a couple of more minutes, or?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, perfect. All right. So, here we go. Sorry about that. I try to, when I mute myself, it's a playback on the other device, on the YouTube one. Gotcha. So, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. First question was Hopi, one of our moderators. She had a question regarding, does townhomes work the same way as purchasing single family homes?
So the process is similar. The only difference I think the most significant difference is going to be, it's called an HOA, a homeowners association. Yeah. So with a homeowners association, typically it's a group of people that live within the community that are responsible for the rules and policies that govern that community. So there may be things like, you can't park an RV in your driveway, or there may be, only 10 colors that you can use in order to purchase your home. Not purchase your home, but color your home. All of that stuff is really like on the external side. But, you definitely want to know what the fees are. Usually an HOA fee is either a monthly fee or a quarterly fee. That is not a part of your mortgage. That's in addition to your mortgage. So that fee is utilized to maintain the neighborhood. So you may have a company that cuts everyone's yard. So that could be a part of it. You're also paying for, insurance policies. So if like what's called a master insurance policy. So let's just say a hurricane came through.
Right.
Knock some things off of the outside of your property. Then that insurance policy should help with covering that. So that's really like the difference, is just that you have people within the neighborhood that that enforce rules. So if you have a single family detached home, you don't have that. You just, you're the one that's cutting your own grass unless you hire someone. You can determine whatever color you want to paint your home. You can park in whatever you want in front of your home or in your driveway. So that's a big difference.
Okay. So that was Hope's first question. She had a couple. Her second question was, would it be better for her to, if her credit's not that great, would it better to be rent or just buy? Because, if she does have opportunity to buy, even with her credit not being where she wants it to be at or optimal, if she has the opportunity to buy, should she still go ahead to buy instead of renting and using her renting history to improve her credit score?
So if you're in a position to buy, like it's a bit more than the credit score. You also have, like, there are closing costs that go along with purchasing. So closing costs stem from the lender and the title company. So the lender may have certain fees that they charge in order to give you money. They're not just giving you money for free. And then you have a title company, which essentially does all the research. They may go 60 years back. They may go 100 years back to make sure that you own that property free and clear. So there are some costs that go along with that. Closing costs can be anywhere between, I would say, 2 to 3% of the sale price.
Right.
So, yeah. So you want to make sure that you have cash for that. The other thing that people don't think about is, once they get the home, do you have either the money or the credit to be able to furnish the home? You want to make sure you have a bed in there. You want to make sure you have a couch in there. You want to make sure that house feels like home to you. So make sure that you have those things together. But I would always, there are very few cases that I would select renting over purchasing, because once you decide that you're going to purchase, then you are in control. You have an opportunity to, you can be strategic about your purchase. Some people may purchase what we call, in DC, what we call a semi-detached home. Where I'm from in Ohio, we call them 2-family homes, where you can live on one side and another person can live on another side, and they're paying you rent, but that rent is paying for your entire mortgage. So you're almost living free. Some people may have like a basement that is fully finished. So you can have like a bedroom space in a basement, a small kitchen area, and you can lease that, and you can essentially live, let's say it's a 3-story home. You can live on the top 2 levels and have someone living in your basement that's paying your mortgage for you. So you're living free. Anytime that you're renting, you are paying for someone else to get wealthy. You are paying for someone else's lifestyle. So it's nothing that,
correct.
You can be kicked out sometimes at any time. I mean, there are certain laws and policies that are in place, but there are ways to get around those for landlords. So the power is in purchasing. The power is always in owning. Once you own your own thing, then you control what happens to it. And there are resources that exist to help you with controlling what happens to it. And there are free resources for that. So like landlord and tenant court, those should be in every local government. Landlord and tenant courts, like they offer free attorneys, or I won't say free attorneys that operate pro bono, which just means that they won't charge you for advice and guidance on how to handle different situations. So I would much rather be a landlord than tenant, because you can determine what happens. I do understand that everybody is not in that situation right now, and that's okay, because I wasn't always in that situation, and it took me a while to learn and understand what to do in order to be able to educate other people. So once you are in a position to be able to purchase, I would suggest purchase.
I think that's great advice. If you have the opportunity to buy, you always buy. That's one thing we learned from Monopoly, right? Mm-hmm. Even with your last, if you have an opportunity, buy it. Yep. Okay, so this was a great question from Cocoa Butter Barbie. She says, I own real estate, but all mine have been homes I lived in or brand new builds. I want to get into distressed properties, but I don't know much about construction. Any suggestions to get over the fear? Did you hear that okay, Jay?
Yeah. So the first thing is to educate yourself. And you can do this at any time, at home or out on your phone. First thing that I would go to is YouTube and, start taking a look at, people who have done it, that are offering advice on how to do it and help you to understand what goes into it. So once you get a general understanding of what goes into it, the next step is what I would suggest is reach out to a realtor that deals with investors and ask that investor if they can mentor you. Because then that's when you go from the knowledge in terms of like looking at YouTube to actually switching that to practical experience where you can visit with a person or a company that does this stuff all of the time. And it's not that you have to visit with them every day or every week. It could be a once a month thing until you determine that you're ready. But you want to be around people that are doing it, that have the resources to do it so that you can understand what the process looks like. So it's just about, one, educating yourself, and then two, placing yourself around people who are actually doing it, because that's when you really learn. It's just kind of like what people told me when I was in college. It was like, yeah, you learn all this stuff in college, but, until you actually get out there and you're around people that are doing it, like it's going to be a different situation. You're going to learn so much more. But before you can learn so much more, you need to get the basics. And you can get the basics from YouTube. You can get the basics from things like, Facebook events where, investors may guide you through or talk to you about it. You can go to meetup groups online. You can do pretty much anything that you want online as far as like education and understanding it or getting an understanding of it. But then after that happens, you want to reach out to a realtor. And that realtor should be able to pair you with an investor or investors that do this type of stuff all the time. And then that's when the fear will start to subside. The fear is really there when we don't have the knowledge base because it's new. And it's just like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what can go wrong. So the way that you combat that is, like I said, like oftentimes, I still do it to this day. Like, I'll just sit back, on a Thursday and just start looking at, scrolling through YouTube, for 10, 20, 30 minutes, just finding different topics that I want information about. I just happen to be in a position where I'm in the field, so I know who to reach out to now. But if you're not directly in the field, reach out to a realtor. they'll definitely be able to guide you towards investors.
Okay, so that she said, thank you so much. She said they're good points, and she is going to try that out. That's Cocoa Butter Barbie.
Okay.
Now, this is coming up on my favorite time of the day.
Right.
I had 2 questions. I'm going to try to work those in, though. So we do a top 5 at 5, and
Right.
you have 5 minutes left in the live. I do 5 questions to close out that hour, but let me tell you, the live stream was very lit up, Jay. I did your personal email. I hope that's okay. In addition to your website.
Yep.
So I do think you're going to get some personal engagement from there, because it was very lit up. The questions were really popping one after the other. And everyone, like I said, is very appreciative of the advice. Now, I had a couple of questions too in regards to, I read a statistic that really blew my mind. It said that there was a 20% increase in real estate millionaires, people that have increased up to their wealth with millionaire status, 20% increase.
Mm-hmm.
But we're at the lowest we've ever been since 1956. When I say we, I mean African Americans.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it that we're not a part of that formula? So that would that be true on both sides? The 20% increase, would it not be African Americans? And on the other side, are the people that are getting to millionaire status, are they not selling to Black people?
No, well, I'll answer the last question first. People who want to make money don't care who they sell to. They want to make money. So it's oftentimes the sellers don't know what a buyer looks like, because the seller's agent is dealing with the buyer's agent. And so they have no clue. It's not like the seller meets the buyer in advance. In most cases, I'll say in probably 85, 90% of the time, the buyer and seller never meet. And then that other 10 to 15% of the time, they're meeting, the buyer and the seller may meet because the buyer directly approaches the seller, or they just happen to meet at the end of the transaction when they're all signing documents. So that shouldn't be the case. Now, what I will say is that, lending, in the past, lending has been an issue because the buyer has to directly deal with the loan officer. And, everybody has different views, especially in the past. Like they've changed policies and rules and regulations since then. But, there was, prior to this, like there was a such thing as called as redlining, where they would not allow African Americans to purchase in certain areas. And that was much more on like the lending and banking side. But as far as like ownership, I think, and this is my own personal thought, but I'm pretty sure it can be supported too. It's just systemic. I feel like families have been renting and leasing for so long. It's what they know. That's really what it comes down to, is what you know and what you're comfortable with and what you understand. So, if my grandmother was leasing and my mother was leasing and I'm leasing, like most likely I'm gonna tell my son or my daughter, hey, lease, or they're at least gonna associate their lifestyle with leasing. So it really takes that change of thought into someone to say, you know what, I want to do something different. I'm going to do something differently. And once you like the people that are already on here or who were on here, they've already started the process of just a thought switch. You know, like you're ahead of the game by even thinking about it, because there are other people that just move through life and it's just not even a thought. There's fear that exists. So I think like that happens to be one of the things that deters people, because it's like I said in the beginning, it's like people will count themselves out before talking to a professional to see if they are even eligible to purchase. So, you know, don't count yourself out of the game. You know, one of the things one of my best friends used to tell me when I was in high school, he would say, you know, get out of your own way. And getting out of your own way just means that you don't stop yourself. You let somebody else tell you no before you tell yourself no.
So you like know, that. I love that. And I also think yeah, sorry about that. I was saying on the flip side of that also, when you say that people are so, it's systemic and they're so used to leasing, I want to say on the flip side of that is also that if you haven't had those conversations with your with your family about how important home ownership is, it's really hard for you to grasp that in your, you know, if you go through college renting, you have roommates, you know what I mean? Because I experienced that personally. My family, they owned, you know, we owned our home, but because, you know, I got married in college, you know, my senior year at FAMU, I got married. And we, you know, we're two young kids. He was in law school. You know, so that's the way we started our marriage. And she said she can't hear me. Can you hear me now? I hope you can hear me now, Cocoa Butter. But so yeah, we started our life in, you know, apartment living. And so by the time we got into, you know, we were having children, it was like, okay, now we want to buy, but we hadn't really, you know, done the work and properly invested in that angle. And both of our parents, you know, were they were homeowners. But by the time we got around to it, you know what I mean? It was kind of like, it was a bit of an afterthought. And so we were a bit scrambling, trying to, you know, get the credit together and get these. And by this time, like I said, we had children. So it was like lives on top of lives, as opposed to doing it when, you know, we didn't have any kids and we could have just used that time to fully commit. So do you find also that sometimes that's an issue too, that it's not necessarily what they learned, it's just that, you just got so used to the renting model, like, you know, even if you didn't see your parents do it, you know, you just enter into a lifestyle of renting is easier, renting is, you know, cheaper, renting is convenient, you know, because I know a lot of single people do fall into that category as well. Not to throw any shade anybody's way. But because like I said, we were married, and it took us about 7, almost 10 years in the marriage before we were really talking about, So yeah, like I said, I definitely know it can cut both ways, but I think you're absolutely right, and I love that quote when you said we have to get out our own way. You know, whether we saw it happen, whether we participated in it. wealth. And I love that you said that.
Mhm.
So I see, I don't want to have to keep losing, coming back in and out. So I'm going to start I'm going to do a top 6 at 6
All right.
because we're after 6 o'clock. So are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Absolutely. Okay. So my first one, who is a celeb that you would love to sell a home to right now?
It's not alive. So I'll go with somebody that's alive. That's a good question. All right, so I'm gonna go with.
That's how we do it here. We kick it off. You know, you gotta go with us. You gotta go deep.
Yeah. I'll say Diddy because he was the first one to hit for it. Yeah.
Bro, that's so cool because let me tell you, we're gonna get to it, but Diddy, okay, got it.
All right.
Okay. So reparations, is this a reality if they take it with a real estate approach? I want y'all to know when I tell you I've been working on this. I've been working on this for a minute.
Absolutely it is. I mean, it's just there's so many things that are like there's just a system. I'm just being candid. You know, there's a system that has been working to limit us, to destroy us, but we're resilient. So we have people who have come and that are in office now that are, working on our behalf. But that system is very real. So can it happen? Absolutely, it can happen. There's no reason that it couldn't happen because it's happened for many cultures prior to us. I mean, Jewish, Japanese, Native Americans, like all of these ethnicities and cultures have received reparations in some form or fashion. So it can absolutely happen. It's just a matter of, and I think African Americans just within the U.S. are probably, I don't necessarily like the title, but I'll just say it just for ease of language. But probably the top minority. So we probably have the loudest voice right now. And that's very scary to the system to be able to offer us equal footing. And we already have people who have risen through the system. And if we're able to bring even more people up, that's a very uncomfortable situation for, I'll say, the system. But it can happen.
You better speak.
Yeah, it can definitely happen. I wouldn't say that I didn't think that we would have an African American president or potentially, an African American vice president. I didn't necessarily think that. I remember growing up thinking that, wow, they're never seen that.
Absolutely.
I didn't necessarily think that it could happen.
I keep saying faith over fear today. Faith over fear today. Hey, It's time. It's time. Yep. I love that. Absolutely. Okay, my next one is, now I'm going to have to do one from the top of the hills, the highest of the hills. Who is your favorite FAMU teacher? Come on now.
Oh, man. I was in SBI.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
and I want you to know, I know that we were there, I think maybe
I got there in 2000.
When was it?
2000.
Yeah, we were there at the same time. So my freshman year and my freshman and my junior year, both of those years, SBI bested Harvard with that business is down.
Yep.
So that was huge, and I remember that was my sophomore year was when Time Magazine put us as Time School of the Year. Okay. Shake, rattle, and enroll. Come on, FAMU. Come on, FAMU. Faith over fear today. We gonna give them their props. We gonna give those flowers today.
Right.
Amen.
Right. Yep.
So who was your favorite teacher?
Yeah, I had a few, but I'll say Dr. Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, she's over at SBI now, and she was the person that I would say allowed us to have a voice in the class. But even though she gave us the opportunity to kind of like speak our mind and speak freely, we always respected her, you know. So, you know, when she would give us the feedback, people would listen, you know. So it was a class that I look forward to attending. And then, you know, even the relationship, you know, after the class, it's just like going to FAM was something that I wasn't prepared for. I knew that I wanted to do something different. In order for me to do something different, I needed to be somewhere different. So I went from Ohio all the way down to Florida, where I didn't know anybody. Everything was a culture shock to me, from the music to the language to the food, everything. And when I got to SBI, it was just kind of like, it was kind of like a hug, like walking into a hug, you know.
Right.
And Dr. Friday was definitely one of the people who I would say made me feel the most comfortable and allowed me to find my voice within the class.
Absolutely. So my favorite was Dr. Kemp, and she's over the English department now. I don't know if you ever experienced her, but amazing. She's actually Chili from TLC's aunt.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah. And you know, I used to babysit for her, and so I knew all the dances. The niece knew all the dances, so we had to learn. So that's what I would be doing, is that babysat. So definitely fun times, and you know, she was my favorite professor while I was there, and actually the only professor that was invited to my wedding, and she came, and she brought a great gift down from Tallahassee to Daytona. All right. Absolutely, a big salute to you, Dr. Yakini Kemp. Thank you. All right. So, this is a good one of mine. Absolutely. What was your favorite performance from the? Did you get that from the Marching 100?
You said my favorite performance from the Marching 100?
You were there. While you were your favorite one from the Marching 100?
Well, my line brother. So I'm a Catholic. One of my line brother, he was a drum major. So I'm definitely going. I mean, all day is homecoming. I mean, that's just when we show out. So it was definitely during the homecoming, and just watching him. It was probably the year that we crossed, and just knowing that we had somebody out there leading. You know, I mean, at HBCU, you know, people coming for the band anyway. You know, so just to know that we had somebody out there like just representing us, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no shade to anybody else. Like, you know how we are. We always love our HBCU. You know, we're HBCU. It is a big family, but I'm telling you, so my mom.
No, I have another one.
You said what?
I have another one.
Oh, good. Yeah, give it to me.
Yeah, it was Orlando Classic, and it was FAM and
BC. Both of my parents are Bethune-Cookman, and my grandparents were Bethune-Cookman.
My mother is too. So just hanging out with my mother and us watching the battle, like that was great. Like I really loved that. And Bethune-Cookman, like they showed out. They had motorcycles come out, rappers come out, like everything. But it's nothing like when FAM takes the field. I mean, it's like I don't even know how to explain it. It's amazing. When you see that many people in sequence, it's amazing.
Agreed. Absolutely. It is definitely it is chills, you know, both so I had two siblings that preceded me. We all went to HBCUs, but two siblings that preceded me went to FAMU as well.
Okay.
And you know, I've been watching the Marching 100 literally since I was 7 years old, you know, and I still would get those same chills, you know, all my years at FAMU. So my favorite one was, of course, Can You Stand the Rain?
Okay.
They that was, I want to say that was my sophomore year, and it was they had the big umbrella, you know, it was just magical. It was magical, and that's just one of those songs that you got to do a lot to do it wrong.
Yeah.
But FAMU, you know, it was so nostalgic. And and you know what, if I'm not mistaken, and this might be because people always say you remember things better than it was, but if I'm not mistaken, it started raining. And it was, people were getting drenched, and we were just like rocking along, like, yes, I can stand it. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Okay, so we're down to our last two. So these are going to be really fun.
Okay.
All right. When you talk about, you said that there were few instances where you would say renting over buying, right? You're in Miami, okay? Where you're talking about the chances are, but we gonna get real with these numbers. The chances are within the same year of the market being so high it crashes. What would be your best piece of advice for someone with that option of buying or renting, but you're in Miami where the market is devastating?
Well, this goes back to finding a good realtor, because you need to find a deal. And in Miami, like, I mean, it also goes down to like everybody's individual situation. If you have it to actually purchase, I'll buy. Miami isn't going anywhere. I mean, there's going to be ups and downs in terms of like pricing, but over the long haul, it's going to end up going up like this because it's Miami. Are you like, do you have to be on Miami Beach? You do?
Okay.
I mean, I'm asking, like, if the person has to be on Miami Beach, like, there's a certain price point that it's expensive, you know. But if you have the money to get it, if you can buy. If you can buy.
Period. So that's just it. Period. That's you sticking with it. Don't matter where you are. You can buy. Yeah, you got to live somewhere anyway. And oftentimes rent is higher than a mortgage would be. True. You know, so if you can buy, because ultimately you can turn right back around at some point and sell it for a profit, or even if the market goes down and you need to move somewhere else, you can lease it. Miami is very but see, that's what I've seen that happen to people. Like, you know, they'll do the investment and buy, and then something will happen, and they have to either leave or someone got sick, and so they have to move in with them. And what they ended up having to sell their home for, I'm telling you, they were upset. They were upset because they felt like they took a real loss because they bought it cheap. They invested, you know, about 70 to 90,000 in improvements, and when they had to sell, they basically sold, like, they made maybe 10,000. 20,000. And you know, it's a gamble, and like they always say, scared money doesn't make money, but literally I've seen that happen with people in a couple of situations. You know, they're going to have properties, and they've been able to just improve on the property and increase the value. But I will say this, these people have properties in other areas, not in Miami.
Okay.
They have them like down south or down north. I mean, up north, like Lake Worth. I've seen a couple of families be able to come up and get some homes and property and improvement. But in Miami, the couple of people that I know that have been able to accomplish that, they were very upset with what they ended up having to sell their home for.
But let's think about what you said. You know, they were upset that they only made $10,000.
Right.
Well, you know, if you're renting, once your lease is up, it's up. You're not making anything. You know,
right. You're not making anything. That's true.
You got to find another contract or another lease that's probably going to be more than what the last one was.
Right.
You know, I understand that people have expectations and they want to make, you know, they want to make that 50,000, they want to make that 70,000, whatever it may be.
Yeah, they want to make double, you know, what they put in. Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're walking away up, that's still a win on an investment. That's $10,000 that you didn't have.
They said, "What you mad for?"
Yeah,
what you mad?
10 grand every day. I'll take it. Every single day.
Amen.
Yeah.
So the last question is, I love it because, you know, as soon as you said that Diddy was your mogul, I said, this is my number one question for the day. You said you wasn't a fan of the music, but bro, what's your favorite? If you could only play one Diddy song, your radio broke. Your streaming channel is broke. Only one Diddy song, a Diddy song now. For the rest of your time here on this earth, what is it?
Oh, I got it. Well, he's featured in it. It's not I don't think it's his song. But Hate Me Now with Nas.
With Nas. Oh my gosh, they got him beat up. You know, Nas had to go up there and rush up in the studio on him.
Oh yeah.
Because they wouldn't take down the video. I don't know if you ever saw the video, but the video was very controversial. They don't play it anymore. But
because he had a cross in there.
Yeah, they were on a crucifix. Yeah. Oh my God! Speaking of which. Yeah, when I said that, Can You Stand the Rain was my favorite because it started raining, I forgot. Not during the BCU classic, but with the classic against, I think it was Howard.
Okay.
They pulled that Hate Me Now, and everybody went crazy. Everybody went crazy. So I gotta retract that. When I said Can You Stand the Rain was my favorite, I think that Hate Me Now, that was so bad because people weren't expecting the Down South band to be playing, you know, something that was such like an up north classic, you know what I mean? So everybody went ballistic, and I was there in Washington for that game. And in overtime. Y'all play over there today, y'all.
Yeah.
We came for it. And what? Yep. So my favorite from Diddy was I think it was called Victory. When the one he opened, the sun don't shine forever, but as long as it's here, we might as well shine together. It's ready now than never. Come on. Come on. Jay, I want to thank you for glowing up with us today. People were very engaged. They, you know, like I said, this is a very hot topic to those that are really trying to, you know, glow up in their finances and glow up in, you know, just getting that knowledge. So I want to thank you again. This is available on the playback. If you have any links that you want to make sure that are in the playback, make sure you send them to me. And what I'll do is highlight them so that they're pinned at the top. And that they stay there. So if you have any links to anything that you want to drop in there, let me know, because other than that, it will be your website and it will be your email address. Okay. But I'm sure you'll be back. I love my family. This is a very hot button topic to me, as you know. I was ready to jump on this because I said, you know, I need somebody from FAMU who's doing this, who I can reach out to the network with. So I thank you for lighting your light and sharing that light with us today. And y'all know what to do. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This brother really dropped some jewels in here today. So we want to give it up for Jay Hobbs. And until next time, y'all know what to do. Glow up.
Yeah.